right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. We are so excited to be here virtually with you. My name is Nicole Hemingway, and I am the CEO of the US Pain Foundation. And with me today is Rebecca McKenzie, who is the director of the Invisible Project. And today we are coming to you live to introduce our first edition of the Invisible Project that focuses on diabetes. Well, diabetes is a prevalent disease. There really is a lack of understanding about the pain that can accompany it, including diabetic peripheral neuropathy, or DPN. DPN is nerve damage caused by high blood sugar levels that can lead to pain or loss of sensation, most often in the feet. And so we are going to be diving into that in this upcoming edition. So thank you guys for being here. For those of you that are not familiar with this program of US Pain Foundations, the Invisible Project is a print and online publication that shows the reality of life with chronic pain through personal stories and narratives, photographs, and educational articles. The utmost goal is really to highlight the individual experiences of those living with chronic pain and why people who are living with it need and deserve more help, more treatment options, and more research into the disease. So to learn more about the project or even order previous magazines, go and visit invisibleproject.org. You can also go to uspainfoundation.org and it will take you there as well. So some exciting news is that we actually have a way that you can subscribe to receive the latest edition as soon as it is printed. So on invisibleproject.org, you will see a subscribe button. Right there, you can write your name, your address, how many copies you would like to receive. And then as soon as the newest magazine is printed and published, they will be sent directly to you in the mail. So it has been over a decade since we began the Invisible Project. We have published over 20 editions of the magazine. We have distributed free copies to patients, to caregivers, to healthcare providers and clinicians. We have featured hundreds of individuals and their family members. And we've also included educational articles that really get to the heart of what matters for people with pain. We talk about topics that are relevant to these diseases, trying to inform, to empower, to educate, to provide hope and strength. And so we are really just excited to be here with you today to talk about this latest edition of the Invisible Project that is focused on diabetes and diabetes-related pain. One cool addition to our publications recently is a QR code. So when you receive a magazine in the mail, look for that QR code where you can scan it and it will automatically take you to where you can read and share this article online. So with that, I have the privilege of turning the stage over to Rebecca, who is going to introduce the 10 individuals that are featured in this current edition. I think we all can really agree that each one of them provides unique perspective and aspect regarding their experiences living with diabetes. And we really hope as you join us through the rest of this Facebook Live, you get to learn more about them. You learn more about diabetes and diabetic peripheral neuropathy and diabetes-related pain. And hopefully that will help you along your own journeys as well. So Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to turn it to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you everyone for joining us and for learning about this magazine with us today. Our first profilee, George Woods, experienced pain for years from peripheral artery disease, which is a complication of diabetes that causes leg pain and reduced circulation to the legs and feet. In individuals with diabetes and peripheral artery disease, injuries or wounds to the feet are often difficult to notice and heal. Unfortunately, complications from diabetic ulcers and sores resulted in George needing to have both of his legs amputated below the knee. As he says of his painful recovery period, "I had to get back to living the life I was accustomed to living. Even though I'm handicapped, I will not let it stop me." Not only did George learn to walk again, but he dances, plays musical instruments, and uses his story to educate and inspire others today. Next slide, please. Wendy Lee has dealt with chronic pain from multiple injuries and conditions for most of her life. She developed diabetes during a particularly dark time, but now she says that her lifetime of learning how to manage pain better equipped her to manage her diabetes as well. She explains, "I have so much pain going on, so many different symptoms, but with diabetes, it was something I could dig through and investigate." About a year after her diabetes diagnosis, Wendy was also diagnosed with diabetic peripheral neuropathy, or DPN, which causes pain in her feet and hands. She continues to find ways to adapt, whether by wearing protective gloves while she exercises, or, as she calls it, bedazzling recipes to make them both fun and diabetes friendly. Next slide. Beth Taylor experienced foot pain and numbness for years, but she couldn't get answers or much help for her pain. Thinking back to that time, she says, "I felt invisible. It's very discouraging when doctors tell you there's nothing we can do for you." After Beth was diagnosed with diabetes and then was told that DPN was responsible for her long-term foot pain, doctors discovered, almost too late, that the medication treating her foot pain had irreparably damaged her liver. Although a liver donor was found in time, Beth's payoff for receiving a new liver and a second chance at life is no longer being able to treat her DPN pain with medication. Today, she works to find new ways to manage her pain, and she is outspoken about the dangers of not catching symptoms early. Next slide. Sylvia Faircloth grew up seeing the damage that diabetes and DPN took on members of her family, and tragically, her mother died of diabetes-related complications when Sylvia was 14 years old. She spent the decades following her mother's death doing everything she could to prevent diabetes. Even after Sylvia was diagnosed with diabetes as an adult, she continued to make lifestyle changes to manage her blood sugar as much as possible. A foot injury that went unnoticed for a while was the first clue that Sylvia was also dealing with DPN, which now causes pain in her feet, legs, and hands. She is vigilant today about checking her feet for injuries, and her advice to others living with diabetes is this: you know your body. If something doesn't feel right, take notice of it and act on it. Next slide. Billy Tohe saw many family members dealing with amputations as she grew up, but she didn't understand that diabetes was the cause until much later. As an adult, Billy learned about how much more prevalent diabetes is in the Native American community, and that fact hit even closer to home when Billy was also diagnosed with diabetes. She has worked to find effective ways to manage the disease, but in the last few years, she has begun experiencing pain from DPN. She already is noticing the progression of the disease, as she describes here. 6 months ago, I was noticing when it was hurting. Now I notice when it's not hurting. Billy was recently named Executive Director of the National Indian Council on Aging, or NICOA, and she works to educate other Native Americans about diabetes and its complications. Next slide. Stephen Hadfield has spent years using his health challenges and pain as motivation to speak up for others. He has lived with diabetes as well as neuropathic pain in his feet for about a decade. During that time, he experienced challenges in finding effective and affordable treatment, and he often had to travel to find the care he needed. He has been involved in advocacy efforts over the years related to the affordability of care for people with diabetes and other conditions. Last year, he was invited to introduce the President of the United States at an event related to the Inflation Reduction Act, which significantly reduced Stephen's medication costs. He has also testified to Congress about medication affordability. He says, "I don't like to see other people go through what I go through. It feels good to see my advocacy work making an impact." Next slide. Rowena Kumar was diagnosed with diabetes soon after a debilitating injury that crushed the vertebrae in her neck, leaving her with lifelong instability and pain. After her diabetes diagnosis, she began to notice new pain in her feet and learned that she also had DPN. Finding a treatment regimen that worked for her and was affordable was a difficult process of trial and error. Today, in addition to taking medication to manage her blood sugar, Rowena uses a variety of methods to help manage her DPN pain, including meditation, journaling, massage, and a heating pad. She has been active in educating others about chronic pain, and she has found joy in practicing adaptive Taekwondo. She believes that mindset is a really important part of pain management. And as she says, you have the choice to choose joy instead of pain. Next slide. Joseph Kapler's diabetes was discovered almost by accident. He has lived most of his life with chronic pain caused by multiple conditions. He shares that the complexity of his conditions makes treatment challenging, and his doctors typically only address the most pressing symptoms in a given moment. While he was being treated for complications related to one of his conditions, a nurse inadvertently noticed that his blood sugar was high, leading to a diagnosis of diabetes, and soon after, of DPN as well. Joseph says it was difficult to adjust to living with diabetes, especially since it was overlooked for so long. As he describes it, being diagnosed with diabetes was like a rude awakening or a cold shock to the system. I had to face a whole new lifestyle. His other conditions have caused challenges in managing his DPN pain, but Joseph, a Navy veteran who attended medical school, uses his background and his lifetime of managing pain to seek new solutions. Next slide, please. Lisa and Dan Hughes, who have been married for more than 30 years, were both diagnosed with diabetes around the same time several years ago. They both are also dealing with chronic pain. Dan needed to have half his foot amputated after years of circulation problems following a heart attack. And soon after Lisa's diabetes diagnosis, although she was proactive in managing her blood sugar levels, she developed pain from DPN as well. Her pain has worsened to the point that she is no longer able to play with her grandchildren. And after multiple unsuccessful treatments, Lisa and her doctors are hopeful that they have landed on one that will help. She urges others to monitor their health and get checked early. As she explains, I tell people all the time, take care of yourself now because you don't want to live with what I'm dealing with. Lisa and Dan have consistently supported each other through their pain and diabetes management. Next slide, please. So thank you again so much to all of our amazing profilees for sharing your stories. It's such a really courageous and vulnerable thing to do, and we're really grateful that you're willing to share your stories and kind of help other people understand that they're not alone. I am so excited for all of you watching today to have the chance to read these profiles. And then in addition to these incredible profiles, this issue also has informational articles covering a variety of topics related to diabetes and DPN. Next slide. Informational articles in this issue cover a variety of topics such as the science behind DPN, how to discuss your DPN symptoms, foot health tips, full body complications of diabetes, specialists who treat diabetes, current treatments and upcoming research, diabetes stigma, self-management tips, diabetes and mental health, apps to help manage the disease, transitioning out of pediatric diabetes management, and the importance of improved access. Next slide. Finally, this issue also features 4 amazing organizations that are doing really important work to educate, serve, and advocate for people living with diabetes and diabetes-related pain. And we'd love to share a little bit more about them with you. Next slide. The American Diabetes Association seeks to prevent and cure diabetes and to improve the lives of all people affected by this disease through promoting research, offering up-to-date information to healthcare professionals, working to improve equity in the healthcare system, and making community connections among people living with diabetes. Next slide. T1D Exchange facilitates research and drives quality improvement in healthcare and outcomes for people living with type 1 diabetes through collaboration with diabetes centers, a registry connecting patients to research opportunities, and an online community for individuals living with diabetes and those that are supporting them. Next slide. The Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy serves individuals living with peripheral neuropathy, including DPN, through research funding, advocacy, efforts to increase awareness of peripheral neuropathy and its causes, a research registry, and online resources and educational programs about neuropathy, symptoms, and treatment options. Next slide, please. Diversity in Diabetes seeks to address the challenges faced by diverse communities in managing diabetes. It offers educational resources and events, a free support group, advocacy for increased diverse representation of healthcare professionals in diabetes care, and an educational campaign at historically Black colleges and universities. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank
And
you.
now we're going to take a few minutes to thank the many people who made this issue possible. First, to produce such a publication really takes an army of dedicated, passionate people. So I want to acknowledge our vast team of writers and editors. Thank you for your willingness to contribute articles and share profile pieces with the world. This would not have been possible without your support and assistance. And in reality, none of this would be possible without our incredibly supportive sponsors. To Veritas and Vertex, our gold sponsors, and Lilly, our partner sponsor. Thank you for understanding the importance of the patient voice and raising awareness about diabetes and pain. Thank you for making this all possible. We also would like to thank our corporate counsel for supporting our efforts year-round at US Pain Foundation. And again, to our amazing profilees, you made this project powerful, informative, and hopeful. Thank you for all you did. Thank you for all you do. We appreciate, honor, and recognize you today. Your voices, your experiences are helping change the trajectory for others that are also living with diabetes and diabetes-related pain. So thank you for your candor, your insights, and your perspectives. We truly appreciate it. So to learn more about the Invisible Project, as well as this publication, please head on over to invisibleproject.org. There you can click on Order Magazines to order previous editions that we have already published, as well as you can click on Subscribe and make sure that you will continually receive the latest edition of the Invisible Project magazine as it is published. So thank you all so much for being here with us this afternoon. Please have a wonderful day. We do want to mention that Rebecca and I will be headed over to US Pain's Instagram page to share a little bit more about this project and really what it means to share your story and the power that comes from sharing your lived experiences and how that can help others that are living with chronic pain as well as similar diseases. So please head on over. We're going to be talking a lot more about the Invisible Project Diabetes Edition. In the meantime, thank you all so much. If you are looking for support, if you're looking for education, please know that US Pain Foundation is there for you and along the way with you.